Usually when we talk about like a villain's lair in any grand epic or foundational myth, there's this ingrained expectation of, I guess, architectural dread.
Oh, yeah. Completely. It's almost a trope at this point.
Right. You approach the evil stronghold, and the environment itself basically telegraphs the morality of the people living there. Like, the sky turns gray, you've got these jagged black rocks piercing the low-hanging clouds. The vegetation's all dead or, like, actively hostile.
Yeah, the narrator might as well just point and say, behold the heart of darkness.
Exactly. It's like Sauron's power or his spooky castle.
Right, it's an atmospheric shortcut, like a binary representation of the world. Good guys live in the sunlight, surrounded by flourishing nature, and bad guys live in the gloom, surrounded by decay. We're totally conditioned to expect that morality can be, well, perfectly categorized by the environment itself.
It makes the world legible for the reader, I mean.
Yeah, it's comfortable.
But then you step into the world of the Srimad Valmiki Ramayana, specifically the opening sequences of the Sunderkand.
Which is just a masterpiece.
Oh, it really is, because you approach the ultimate stronghold of the antagonist, and suddenly that entire concept of architectural morality is just, it's inverted.
Completely flipped on its head.
Right. We're presented with this landscape of opposition that is not just unexpected, it's like aggressively disorienting.
It's the absolute definition of narrative and psychological muddy waters. I mean, Valmiki doesn't give you the comfort of a visibly decaying evil.
No, he really doesn't.
He forces you to reconcile pure malice with absolute aesthetic perfection.
Okay, let's unpack this, because our mission today is zeroing in exclusively on this breathtaking opening sequence. We're looking really closely at the translation of the Gita Press edition of the Srimad Valmiki Ramayana.
Right.
And we're following Hanuman as he crosses the ocean and infiltrates the impenetrable fortress of Lanka. And what we're going to do is examine the mechanics of this text.
Yeah, not just what happens, but how and why it happens.
Exactly. We're looking at this fusion of mythic action, profound strategic thinking, and, a deliberate subversion of your expectations.
Because the Sunderkand, it operates on multiple concurrent frequencies. Like, on the surface, sure, it's a physical transit.
A really impressive one.
Very impressive. But beneath that, it's an exploration of internal mastery, strategic restraint, and the cosmic order. It demands that we look at the mechanics of the mind, the nature of power, and how profound corruption can meticulously disguise itself as a paradise.
So to set the stage, and assuming you, the listener, are already familiar with the broader context of Sita's abduction by the Rakshasa king Ravana, we find Hanuman on the Malaya mountain on the southern coast.
Right, he's looking out over the ocean toward the island fortress of Lanka.
And the mission is intelligence gathering. Find Sita. But the immediate logistical hurdle is simply the geography. I mean, he has to cross an ocean a distance described as 100 yojanas.
Yeah.
And he isn't building a boat. He's leaping.
And we should probably clarify the scale here just for context.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because a yojana is an ancient Vedic measurement of distance.
Right. And while historical interpretations of the exact mileage kind of vary, crossing 100 of them is unequivocally an astronomical distance.
We're talking about hundreds, possibly over 1,000 miles?
Yeah. This is not a long jump. It's an atmospheric transit. It is defying gravity through sheer force of will.
And the text gives us this visceral launch sequence. I mean, he presses down on the Malaya mountain with such force that the trees shake, flowers rain down, and the mountain itself, groans under the kinetic energy being generated.
It's a massive release of power.
It is. He launches into the sky, traveling through the upper atmosphere. But here's the specific detail that completely stopped me in my tracks.
What's that?
He covers this immense distance, this 100 yojanas, and the text explicitly states he does not shed a single drop of sweat.
Ah, yes.
His breathing never becomes heavy. He experiences absolutely zero fatigue, or what the text refers to as glani.
Right, and that absence of glani is a crucial mechanical detail.
It's wild to me.
Well, Valmiki isn't just throwing in adjectives to make Hanuman sound impressive. In the context of Vedic philosophy and Ayurvedic principles, glani is not merely physical exhaustion or lactic acid buildup.
Okay.
It's a depletion of the vital life force. It's psychic entropy. So the fact that Hanuman experiences zero glani is a deliberate characterization of his internal state.
See, it makes me think about the psychology of extreme endurance athletes, but magnified to a mythic scale.
Oh, like ultra-marathoners.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at people who run 100 miles through desert terrain, they obviously sweat and their muscles break down.
Right, biology takes over.
But they often describe this psychological threshold. They cross the flow state. It's a point where the mind completely overrides the physical limitations of the biological machine.
The perception of pain just evaporates.
Exactly. Time dilates. And they describe a feeling of being able to run indefinitely. And the internal monologue of Hanuman in the text mirrors this perfectly. Like, after leaping the 100 yojanas, he essentially thinks, I could do this hundreds of times over without breaking a sweat.
Yeah, he's tapped into a reserve that is not biological at all.
Exactly.
And that analogy touches on the periphery of what the text is describing. But to truly understand the mechanics of this leap, we really have to look at the concept of prana.
Rana, right.
Because Hanuman is the son of Vayu, the wind god. But Vayu doesn't just represent moving air, right? Vayu represents prana, the cosmic life force, the breath of the universe that animates all matter.
Wow, okay.
So Hanuman's boundless vitality is a direct manifestation of this. He isn't relying on ATP synthesis in his muscles to propel himself across the ocean.
It's not burning carbs.
No, exactly. He is utilizing prana.
Wait, so you're saying it's less about biomechanics and more about metaphysics. Like, how exactly does one move using prana?
Well, think of it this way. Physical exertion is the body fighting against its environment.
Okay.
You push against the ground, you fight against gravity, you push through wind resistance. That friction causes heat, sweat, and ultimately gluttony.
Makes sense.
But when you move purely through the mastery of prana, you aren't fighting the environment, you are harmonizing with it.
Oh, wow.
Hanuman's movement is as effortless as the wind itself because he is aligned with the fundamental animating force of reality. The journey isn't a struggle against distance.
So it's like he becomes a part of the system rather than fighting it.
Precisely. When the mind is perfectly and singularly focused on a righteous mission, which is finding Sita, the physical body basically ceases to act as a barrier. The mind commands the prana, and the body just follows without friction.
That is just, it's the ultimate manifestation of mind over matter. He isn't conquering the ocean is just incidental to his focus.
Right. And what's fascinating here is how the text expands this from a solitary physical feat into a macroscopic cosmic event.
Oh yeah, the Qurans.
Exactly. As he is in the upper atmosphere, the text mentions the Charans. These are celestial beings, wandering spirits of the sky, and they actually pause to honor him. They are observing this transit.
It's like he has an audience of demigods.
And the inclusion of the Charans serves a very specific narrative purpose. It elevates the leap from a covert operation to a turning point in the cosmic order.
How so?
By having celestial entities pause and bear witness, the author is signaling to the reader that this is an event of cosmic significance. Hanuman becomes like a comet of pure purpose blazing across the sky.
I love that imagery.
The heavens themselves recognize that this single entity moving with frictionless devotion is about to disrupt the stagnation of the universe.
But this immense frictionless momentum eventually has to meet a solid object.
Right, you can't stay in the sky forever.
Exactly. You can't stay in the flow state of the upper atmosphere indefinitely. Eventually, you have to land in hostile territory. And that transition from the boundless freedom of the sky to the incredibly dense, fortified reality of the enemy stronghold completely shifts the tone of the narrative.
Yeah, we move from the metaphysical freedom of prana into the rigid, heavy materialism of Ravana's empire.
And so Hanuman lands on the peak of the Trikuta mountain. And the text says flowers from the trees shower down on his shoulders from the impact, which honestly is a surprisingly soft, beautiful image for a landing zone.
It's a very poetic touch.
But then he walks to the edge and looks out, and he beholds Lanka. And this is where we get into the architecture of the floating citadel. The visual description here is designed to induce absolute awe and, frankly, a bit of intimidation.
Oh, it's a masterclass in establishing stace through setting. Lanka is not just a city, it is a statement of absolute supremacy.
Right, because the text describes massive golden walls. And not just gilded like painted gold, but constructed of solid gold.
Yeah, unimaginable wealth.
And there are intricate, towering gates and perfectly manicured lotus ponds scattered throughout the courtyards. And the most crucial detail, it is explicitly stated that this city was built by the divine architect, Vishwakarma.
And to really understand the weight of that detail, you have to understand who Vishwakarma is.
Right, he's a big deal.
Huge deal. In the Vedic pantheon, he is the craftsman of the gods, the personification of creation and ultimate engineering perfection.
He's the guy you call when you want a flying chariot.
Exactly. He designs the flying chariots of the deities, their unbreachable fortresses, their divine weapons. So to say that Lanka was built by Vishwakarma implies that it is structurally flawless. It possesses aesthetic supremacy and mathematical perfection. It is a city designed for gods.
And its geography completely amplifies this. It's situated so high up on the peak of the Trakuta mountain that from a distance, or if you were looking up from the sea level, it would appear to be a city literally floating in the sky.
Right, detached from the earth.
Exactly. The text actually draws a direct comparison to Amaravati, the mythical capital city of Indra, the king of the gods.
So it rivals heaven itself.
It does. But then the narrative just pulls the rug out from under you.
Yeah.
Because this pristine, golden, floating paradise is heavily guarded by terrifying Rakshasas.
Right, the contrast is stark.
They're patrolling these divine walls, wielding horrific weapons, spites, tridents, and specific weapons called shatabni.
Which literally translates to killers of 100.
Wow. Yeah, so it's an unbreachable divine fortress manned by an army that fundamentally thrives on chaos and violence.
The juxtaposition is totally jarring.
It is. And this brings me to a major question I had while reading.
Sure.
I'm reading this source material, picturing this high-tech golden fortress with lotus ponds in the clouds. It sounds like an absolute paradise. Yet it belongs to Ravana, the ultimate antagonist, the king of the Rakshasas.
Yes.
Why? Why did the author make the villain's lair the most incredibly beautiful city in the world? Shouldn't it be a nightmare landscape, like a desolate wasteland of ash and bone?
It's a brilliant psychological choice because it synthesizes a terrifying dichotomy.
How so?
The beauty of Lanka makes Ravana infinitely more dangerous. It destroys that comforting illusion we talked about earlier that evil is always ugly and easily recognizable.
But how does making him live in a beautiful place make him more dangerous? If anything, it makes him seem cultured.
Exactly. That's exactly why. It highlights his immense power, his unimaginable wealth, and his highly sophisticated intellect.
Oh, I see.
He isn't a mindless beast living in a dark cave driven purely by instinct. He is a king who commands the resources to occupy a city built by the architect of the gods. He understands art, architecture, and aesthetics.
That's a scary thought.
Right, because this demonstrates that his corruption is not born of ignorance. It's a deliberate, calculated choice. He has the capacity to appreciate the divine, yet he chooses to subvert it for his own ego and sensory gratification. That makes him vastly more intimidating than a standard monster.
It's literally evil wrapped in a golden package.
Precisely.
The cognitive dissonance of seeing heavenly architecture housing demonic intent is deeply unsettling. You expect the villain to look and live like a villain.
Right, you want them to be obvious.
Yeah. When they possess a higher standard of beauty and technology than the heroes, it makes you question the balance of the universe. It asks you how you fight someone who has the power to occupy heaven and the will to use it to orchestrate hell.
And it presents Hanuman with a profound philosophical and tactical challenge. He has to look past that dazzling exterior, ignore the overwhelming beauty of the golden walls and the lotus ponds, and maintain his focus on the corruption at its core.
That would be so hard to do.
It is. Lanka's beauty is essentially a weapon of distraction. It's designed to make any invader feel instantly inferior, to make them feel like they're attacking something sacred, even though it has been profaned.
So we have this sheer scale, these divine golden walls floating in the clouds, defended by an army carrying weapons designed to kill hundreds at a time. And sitting outside this fortress is Hanuman. Now, keeping in mind that we just established he has infinite energy, zero glani, and just leaped in ocean by manipulating the fabric of prana itself. How is this giant superpowered entity so to get inside without setting off every single alarm bell in the city?
Well, this is exactly where the narrative shifts gears. The text pivots from demonstrating Hanuman's mythic physical power to showcasing his acute strategic genius.
Oh, okay.
And his mastery over his own physical form.
Yeah.
We enter the realm of espionage.
Right. Hanuman pauses outside the northern gate. He looks at the heavy defenses, the patrolling Rakshasas, the golden walls. Then he looks at his own massive mountain-sized form. He engages in this rapid situational analysis, and concludes that if he walks up to the gate looking like a colossal monkey, he will be instantly spotted. The element of surprise will evaporate, and the entire armed forces of Lanka will descend upon him.
Yeah, he assesses the environment, recognizes his own physical form as a liability in this specific operational context, and just completely recalibrates his approach.
He doesn't let his ego get in the way.
Exactly. He doesn't let his previous success, the leap, dictate his next move.
And his internal reasoning here is just brilliant. He thinks to himself about the dangers of diplomacy and infiltration. He notes that an arrogant or foolish envoy can ruin an entire meticulously planned mission. And the text provides this very specific, striking metaphor. Here's where it gets really interesting. Hanuman says a foolish envoy ruins a plan just as the sunrise destroys the darkness.
And that metaphor is a remarkable inversion of standard poetic imagery.
Wait, how so?
Particularly in Sanskrit literature, where the sunrise destroying darkness is almost universally a metaphor for knowledge destroying ignorance.
Oh, like light driving away evil.
Right, or divine order conquering demonic chaos.
Yeah.
But Hanuman takes that standard metaphor and flips it on its head. He uses the sunrise as the negative, destructive element.
Because he needs the dark.
Exactly. In his operational context, the darkness is his ally. It's his cover, his stealth, his security.
Oh, wow.
A foolish action like showing off his immense physical strength or charging the gate would be the sunrise.
It would ruin everything.
It would illuminate his presence and destroy the necessary darkness, thereby ruining the mission to find Sita.
That is a profoundly sophisticated, strategic way of thinking. It shows he understands the value of context over absolute rules.
Yeah, it proved that his intellect is as flexible and powerful as his body. He's not bound by dogma, not even poetic dogma. He adapts the reality of his situation to his advantage.
So his plan is formulated, he decides to wait for nightfall, and then he physically alters his mass. He shrinks his body down. The Hindi translation of the Gita Press edition explicitly says he makes himself the size of a cat. Not cat, it's because of the cut it. A giant who just displaced the atmosphere over an ocean becomes a house cat.
Quite the transformation.
But I have a serious point of contention here. I have to push back on this tactical decision.
Oh, what is the flaw in his logic?
We just spent a significant amount of time establishing that he has infinite strength.
Right.
He has endless prana. He didn't even sweat crossing the ocean.
True.
He is a literal force of nature. So why doesn't he just smash the golden gates, unleash that infinite power, and fight his way in? By shrinking down to the size of a cat, isn't he making himself incredibly vulnerable? Like, if a guard steps on him or if a minor demon spots him, he's at a massive disadvantage.
I see where you're going.
It feels like a spy movie where the hero has an impenetrable tank parked outside, but chooses to leave it there and pick the back door lock with a paperclip instead. If you have overwhelming superiority, why take the risk of hiding?
It is a valid tactical question, and the text actively wants the reader to grapple with this apparent contradiction. Like, why hide when you can destroy? Why choose vulnerability when you possess invincibility?
Yeah, exactly.
The answer lies in the mechanics of yogic mastery and the profound subordination of the ego.
Okay, let's hear the defense for the paperclip over the tank.
All right, first, let's address the vulnerability aspect. Hanuman shrinking is not merely a physical gag or some magic trick. It's the application of one of the 8 classical siddhis, or yogic perfections.
The siddhis, right?
Detailed in ancient texts like Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Specifically, this is anima siddhi, the ability to reduce one's body even to the size of an atom.
Okay.
The crucial mechanical detail here is that when a master utilizes anima, they do not lose their density, their mass, or their strength.
Wait, really?
Yeah, they merely compress it. Think about it. A bullet is much smaller than a cannonball, but driven by the right force, it is just as lethal.
Oh.
Hanuman, the size of a cat, still possesses the kinetic energy that shook the Malaya mountain. He is not physically vulnerable. He is merely visually undetectable.
Ah, okay, so mass compression without power reduction. That completely changes the physics of the disguise. He's not a fragile cat. He's a microscopic black hole of energy.
Precisely. Now, as to why he chooses this route over the frontal assault, it comes down to absolute discipline regarding the objective. Hanuman understands that his mission is intelligence gathering. His primary singular objective is to locate Sita and ascertain her condition. It is not to start a premature, unauthorized war with Ravana.
But, I mean, if he smashed the gates, he would draw everyone out, and he could just demand to know where she is.
Sure, and in doing so, he introduces absolute chaos into a delicate situation. He might win the battle at the gate, but what happens inside the palace?
Oh, wow.
Ravana could panic and have Sita executed. She could be moved to an underground bunker. The element of control would be completely lost.
That makes sense.
By choosing the tank over the paperclip, you prioritize your own desire for a spectacular fight over the safety of the hostage. Hanuman subordinates his ego to the mission.
Subordinating his ego, that is the core of it.
Think about the immense humility required for an entity of his power. He has the capacity to tear the walls of Lanka down with his bare hands. He could have a song written about his glorious, violent entry into the demon city.
And he chooses not to.
He chooses the form of a cat. He chooses silence. He realizes that true power is not defined by what you can destroy, but by what you consciously choose not to destroy in order to achieve a higher purpose. He denies himself the glory of the warrior to execute the duty of the envoy. It is a masterclass in operational restraint.
That is deeply profound. The restraint itself is the actual superpower. The discipline to hold back the ocean of force he possesses.
Yes.
So the strategy is locked in. The sun goes down, providing his necessary darkness. The animosity is applied. He compresses his mass and becomes today. He makes his move, silently approaching the massive northern gate in the dead of night. But just when you think this masterful stealth mission is going to proceed flawlessly, the city itself decides to fight back.
Quite literally, the architecture of the stronghold becomes animate. The concept of the impenetrable fortress manifests as a physical entity.
Which brings us to a fascinating encounter. As Hanuman tries to slip inside, his compressed form is still detected. He's blocked by a terrifying guardian. But it's not a standard Rakshasa guard patrolling with a spear.
No, it's something much worse.
The text describes her as the personification of Lanka herself. Her name is Lankini. The city has an avatar.
Right. The Romans would call this a genius loci, the protective spirit of a place made flesh. But in the Valmiki Ramayana, this is a much more visceral, aggressive manifestation. Lankini is the concentrated essence of Ravana's dominion, authorized to protect the threshold.
I am absolutely obsessed with this concept. The idea that a city's defenses are so saturated with intent that they literally birth a localized spirit that can physically manifest and punch you in the face.
It's an incredible visual.
She challenges Hanuman.
Here.
She is massive, terrifying, and she tells him point blank, I am protected by Ravana and you cannot pass. I will devour you. And then she strikes him.
And how does the master of restraint respond to being physically assaulted by the avatar of the enemy's city?
Well, he strikes back. But here's where I have another major issue with his tactical decision-making.
Oh boy.
The text says he strikes her, but he specifically uses his left fist. And it explicitly notes that he intentionally holds back his full lethal strength.
He does.
He hits her hard enough to subdue her, but he restrains himself from killing her because, as the text states, she is a woman. Now, I understand the concept of chivalry, but let's look at the context here.
Okay.
He is deep behind enemy lines. The fate of Sita and possibly the cosmos is on the line. He is facing a literal demon spirit who just promised to eat him.
Yeah.
And he pulls his punch. That feels like a massive, unnecessary strategic liability. What if she absorbed the blow, recovered, and sounded the alarm? Why risk the entire mission for a point of chivalry?
It is a phenomenal point to push back on because, to a modern, purely utilitarian mindset, it looks like a fatal tactical error.
Right. If you're in a war zone, you eliminate the threat.
But we have to analyze this through the framework of Dharma, the cosmic law of righteousness that governs the Ramayana. Hanuman's strength is not just physical, it is derived entirely from his adherence to Dharma.
But how is letting a lethal enemy live a righteous act in this context?
Because Dharma dictates the rules of engagement, and those rules do not evaporate just because it is inconvenient or dangerous. The text highlights that she's a woman to emphasize a specific code of conduct in ancient warfare, but it speaks to a broader principle. Hanuman does not use excessive force. He uses precise, proportionate force. If he loses his moral compass and starts annihilating enemies with maximum prejudice simply because it's easier, he becomes no different than Ravana.
Oh, I see.
His mission is divine, which means his methods must remain divine.
So holding back the punch isn't a weakness. It's a structural requirement for his power to function. If he breaks his code, he breaks his connection to the prana.
Precisely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is the ultimate test of the restraint we just discussed. He calibrated his mass to the size of a cat, and now he calibrates his kinetic output to be exactly enough to subdue, but not to kill.
It is mathematical precision in combat.
And it turns out this adherence to restraint triggers a massive cosmic failsafe.
Right. So he hits her with the left fist, she collapses, Entirely overwhelmed by the blow, even though it was significantly reduced, she yields to him. But then, as she is defeated, she suddenly remembers an ancient boon, a prophecy given to her by Brahma, the creator god.
And this prophecy is the hinge upon which the entire epic pivots.
Lankini realizes what has just happened and states aloud that Brahma had told her a specific condition centuries ago: when a monkey defeats you in combat, you must know that the destruction of the Rakshasas is imminent.
Yes.
The protective spirit of the city realizes she has been bested, and because of that prophecy, she voluntarily steps aside and allows him to pass.
Think about the mechanics of destiny playing out here. Lanka's defeat at the gate is not merely a physical breach of security. It's not just an infiltrator slipping past a guard.
The metaphysical barrier protecting Ravana's empire has been shattered.
Exactly. The clock has officially started ticking.
Oh, wow.
It is a spiritual tipping point. By fulfilling Brahma's prophecy, Hanuman transcends the role of a spy. He becomes the catalyst for the end of an era.
That's huge.
The universe is signaling through the very guardian of the city that the time of the Rakshasas is coming to a close. Ravana believed his city was completely invulnerable, but that invulnerability was conditional, and that condition just collapsed under a left-handed punch.
Unbelievable.
The cosmic scales have permanently tipped, and Hanuman was the weight that moved them.
It's incredible to think about the cause and effect there. A single, morally restrained strike triggers the doom of an empire.
Right.
If he had used full force and killed her instantly, perhaps the prophecy wouldn't have been spoken, or the metaphysical yielding of the city wouldn't have occurred.
It's highly likely.
His restraint literally unlocked the prophecy. So, having defeated the supernatural guardian, having fulfilled a cosmic mandate, Hanuman is finally inside. The adrenaline of the combat at the gate fades, the silence of the night returns, and the true stealth mission begins.
And Valmiki masterfully shifts the pacing of the text here.
Yeah, totally changes.
We move instantly from intense physical combat and cosmic prophecies to a deeply slow, observant, and psychological state. We enter the heart of the enemy's sanctuary.
Hanuman enters the city, but the text notes a very specific, almost ritualistic detail about how he enters. Having subdued the guardian, he notably bypasses the main gate entirely and jumps over the outer wall. And the text says this symbolizes placing his left foot on the enemy's head.
It's a sign of absolute dominance. Even while sneaking in, he is establishing sovereignty.
So cool.
It's a psychological claiming of victory before the war has even officially begun. He refuses to walk through the door that Ravana built. He creates his own path over Ravana's defenses, asserting that the architecture of the Rakshasas cannot dictate his movements.
And once he is inside and moving through the city, the tone of the Sanskrit writing changes completely. We get this lush, incredibly dense, poetic description of the moonrise.
Yes, the poetry here is stunning.
And you have to keep the context in mind for a second. Hanuman is surrounded by deadly demons. He is in the belly of the beast. If he makes a wrong move, he will be captured, tortured, and killed.
The stakes are as high as they can be.
Right. The tension should be unbearable, yet the text slows down almost to a crawl to describe the moon with exquisite, almost romantic poetry.
And the contrast is deliberately jarring. It forces the reader to experience the dissonance of the environment alongside Hanuman.
The text compares the moon rising in the night sky to several distinct things. It says the moon is like a swan swimming in a silver lake. Then it pivots and compares the moon to a majestic bull with sharp horns, then a lion resting in a cave, and finally, an elephant with golden tusks.
Right.
It's a beautiful cinematic panning shot of the night sky over a demon fortress.
But why these specific animals? I mean, why interrupt a stealth mission for an astrology lesson?
To understand the function of this poetry, we really have to look deeply into the Sanskrit etymology and the cultural significance of these animals in Vedic literature.
They are not random selections. Each animal represents a specific psychological and cosmic state that contrasts with the environment of Lanka.
Walk me through them.
Sure. The swan Hamsa in Sanskrit represents pure discernment and spiritual grace. Mythologically, the Hamsa can separate pure milk from water, symbolizing the ability to distinguish truth from illusion.
Oh, wow.
The bull Vrishabha represents steadfast strength, groundedness, and Dharma itself. The lion Simha represents royalty, fearlessness, and absolute sovereignty.
Right.
And the elephant Gaja represents majesty, auspiciousness, and calm, overwhelming wealth. all of these are noble, divine, pure qualities.
So they're all positive symbols.
Exactly. Valmiki is projecting these pure qualities onto the moon, which is shining its light down onto a city fundamentally corrupted by ego and violence.
It's like a spotlight of truth sweeping over a crime scene.
That's a great way to put it.
The cinematic quality of that imagery is just mind-blowing. And this deep psychological observation continues as Hanuman moves deeper into the city, moving silently from building to building. He starts looking into the opulent palaces, peering through the windows, desperately searching for Sita.
Right, the intelligence gathering begins.
But instead of finding her, he comes across the sleeping quarters of the Rakshasa women.
Ravana's wives and concubines, the absolute inner sanctum of his domestic life.
Right. And the description here is incredibly intimate and detailed. The text describes them as being exhausted from amorous activities. They're deeply, heavily asleep. Their pearl necklaces are broken and scattered across the floor. Their expensive garments have slipped off their shoulders. The text describes them as looking like crushed lotuses or unbridled mares resting after a long run.
It is a vivid portrayal of absolute decadence.
It is.
But we have to ask a critical structural question here. Why does Valmiki spend so much narrative real estate describing the intimate vulnerability of the enemy?
Yeah. So what does this all mean? Why juxtapose a high-stakes espionage mission to find a kidnapped princess with romantic moonrise poetry and the scattered pearl necklaces of the enemy's sleeping women?
It feels out of place, right?
It totally feels like we wandered into a completely different genre of literature.
But it serves several brilliant psychological and thematic functions. First, let's look at the dramatic irony.
Wow.
The serene moonlight and the vulnerable sleeping women serve to profoundly humanize the enemy's city. It shows us a world that is completely unaware of the doom that Hanuman has just ushered in at the gate. These women are sleeping peacefully, indulging in their immense wealth and physical pleasures, completely ignorant of the fact that the architect of their empire's destruction is walking quietly among them, observing them. It creates a suffocating sense of tension.
They're sleeping like crushed lotuses, and we as the reader know that the hurricane is already inside the house.
Exactly. The vulnerability makes the impending destruction feel real and weighty. But secondly, and perhaps more importantly for the character arc, this sequence establishes the absolute purity of Hanuman's mindset.
Purity.
It introduces the concept of vairagya.
Vairagya. How does that apply here?
Vairagya translates roughly to absolute detachment or dispassion toward the material world. Hanuman is currently walking through the ultimate sensory playground.
Right, Lanka is basically the richest city in existence.
Yes. Filled with the most beautiful, indulgent sights. He is surrounded by extreme wealth, divine architecture, and unchecked sensual indulgence. Any normal being, even a disciplined warrior, would be distracted, tempted, or at least repulsed by the excess. Yet, Hanuman remains an entirely detached observer.
He's just taking data. The temptations of Lanka have zero gravitational pull on him.
None whatsoever.
Yeah.
The text describes these incredibly intimate scenes precisely to prove that Hanuman is completely unaffected by them.
Oh, I see.
His focus remains singularly laser-locked on finding Sita. He navigates through the very heart of worldly distraction without losing his spiritual center for a fraction of a second.
That's amazing.
The poetry highlights the overwhelming nature of the temptation, but Hanuman's total detachment highlights his supreme mastery over his own mind. He has journeyed from the physical leap across the ocean to a psychological infiltration of the highest possible order.
It is a complete, multi-layered evolution of the character in just a few chapters.
Really?
I mean, he masters distance and physical limits through prana. He masters his ego and mass by shrinking his form. He masters the rules of engagement through restraint at the gate. And now he masters his own senses by remaining completely detached in the face of absolute indulgence.
And that, fundamentally, is why the Sunderkand is so universally revered.
Yeah.
Sunder translates to beautiful, but the beauty the title refers to isn't just the poetry of the moon, or the golden walls of Lanka, or the lotus pond.
Right, it's not just aesthetic.
The true, lasting beauty of the text is in the absolute perfection of Hanuman's character. It is the beauty of a mind in perfect alignment with its purpose, remaining unyielding and uncorrupted, regardless of the extreme environments it finds itself in.
That is an incredible synthesis. When you peel back the layers of the mythology and look at the mechanics of the philosophy underneath, it changes how you read every single line.
It absolutely does.
This has been a monumental exploration. Let's pull back and look at the through line we've traced today through the opening of the Sunderkand.
Yeah, let's recap.
We started with a physical marvel of the leap, unpacking the concept of Glani and realizing that endless vitality is not a biological function, but a metaphysical one.
It comes from a mind perfectly aligned with its purpose, riding the currents of prana.
Exactly. We then confronted the psychological warfare of Lanka's architecture, the terrifying realization that supreme evil doesn't always reside in dark, ugly, easily identifiable places.
Right. Sometimes the most insidious corruption is housed in a structurally perfect, divine-looking city, making it infinitely harder to identify and fight.
We analyzed the absolute strategic brilliance of Animacidi, where Hanuman chose to shrink to the size of a cat.
That decision proved that true power requires ultimate restraint and that the ego must be entirely subordinated to the objective.
And we witnessed the cosmic tipping point at the Northern Gate, where a single, calculated, restrained left fist fulfilled Brahma's ancient prophecy and started the inevitable countdown to an empire's total destruction.
And finally, we explored the concept of vairagya, profound psychological detachment. We watched Hanuman navigate the sensual, sleeping heart of the enemy, observing the poetry of the moon and the vulnerability of the Rakshasa women.
All while remaining completely focused on his righteous goal amidst a world engineered for extreme distraction.
It is a masterclass in narrative tension, strategic philosophy, and character building.
It really is.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up this analysis, we want to leave you, the listener, with a final, lingering thought to ponder on your own. Something that builds on the tension of this text and brings it out of the mythic past and into the present.
The Sunderkand asks us to look at the enemy's sanctuary not just as a flat target to be destroyed, but as a complex place filled with art, beauty, and unaware, vulnerable lives.
Right.
It forces us to confront a very uncomfortable truth about the nature of opposition. If supreme evil can command the resources to build a paradise as perfect as golden Lanka, if it can successfully drape itself in the flawless aesthetics of heaven to hide its rot, how much harder is it for us to recognize and confront that same insidious corruption when it builds the structures and paradises of our own modern lives?
A heavy but absolutely necessary thought to carry with you. The beautiful things are not always the good things. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Sunderkand. Keep questioning the narratives you encounter, keep looking past the golden walls, and until next time, keep diving deep.